Nathan, in 2017, author and marketing executive Tracy Hall's life went from fact to fiction overnight when she discovered the man she'd been dating for nearly 2 years, Max, was actually one of Australia's most prolific con men, Hamish McLaren. Suddenly, Max was gone, along with the $317,000 in life savings Tracy had given to him to invest.
Oh, this is wild.
Then in 2019, Tracy made a name for herself as Hamish McLaren's famous last victim, thanks to a role in Australia's podcast, Who the Hell is Hamish? I know you listen to it, Em. You'd love it.
Frost on it.
Yeah, she's now here to share her story in her first book, which is available now. It's called The Last Victim, telling the full story of what happened before, during and after Tracy unknowingly swiped right on a man who'd reportedly swindled people around the world of an estimated $70 million.
That's huge.
Unbelievable.
Through investment and business scams. Here to tell us a bit more about it, please welcome to the show, Tracy.
Hi, Trace.
Hey,
Welcome to the show.
Hello, how are you?
God, we're good, Tracy. Trace, this is wild. I know Em's been so excited to talk to you because she loved this podcast. So how did it start? So after a year, you're dating, you think everything's fine, you're seeing him in person, I believe. You are like going on proper dates in a proper relationship, yes?
Yep, proper relationship. We were taking holidays together. He'd met my family.
Okay.
We were talking about buying property together, building our future together. You know, we were in our early 40s and we didn't live together, but it was very much an in real life and intimate relationship. He told me he was the chief investment officer for a family office. So we had hundreds and hundreds of conversations about the markets, the political impacts on the economy, what was happening, and, you know, this builds a story. He kind of created a movie where there were sort of sets and scenes and characters that had me believe exactly, you know, he was the person he said he was. And so I thought he was the perfect person to take care of my financial future.
And what was the
Stupidly.
the first sum of money that he asked for? Was it the 317 straight up or was it a smaller sum?
No, it came in smaller amounts. So there was an investment opportunity that he said his sister and brother-in-law were investing in through what he was doing through his work. And then over time, he started talking to me about my superannuation. So I had been working for 22 years at this stage, and I had a fairly sizable superannuation sum. And he had convinced me to set up a self-managed super fund that he would invest on my behalf and build my financial future that way. So I lost my 22-year career superannuation savings.
Jesus.
And Tracy, the thing is, like, you obviously trusted this guy with your emotions, with your money, because he gave you no reason to think otherwise. My question to you is, was the money the worst part or was it the emotional con?
No, you can always make money. I think if you have the right mindset and you work hard and I've had a great career and I'm well educated and, I'm motivated that way. So that part of it is manageable, and I was in my early 40s, so I still had time. But the fact that he had emotionally and psychologically manipulated and betrayed me and pretended, how do you pretend to love someone for nearly 2 years and not slip up? It's, that's been really hard to recover from in terms of sort of trusting my own intuition and trusting my own judgment as people.
But also other people,
I did think,
right? Because like you then go, well, there are ulterior motives in every relationship I enter. Can I really take this person for face value?
I mean, yes, but I'm not that way inclined naturally, and I didn't want this experience to change me because then that way he really got under my skin. I think the biggest thing for me was learning to retrust myself and my own judgment, and that's what I've worked on over the last 8 years.
Trace, what about when, you find out that, he's swindled people like all around the world, an estimated $70 million? Like, do you feel better because you're not alone and you weren't the only person going through this with this man, or do you feel worse because there's more people that have also suffered?
I mean, I have a huge level of compassion and empathy for the people that lost money, and some people lost a lot more money than I did. But in a sense, it made me realise what a full-scale criminal this man was and how he was so good at his game. He'd been doing this for 30 years. Like, you do anything for 30 years and you become pretty good at it, right?
When did you start seeing red flags of like, oh shit, I might not be getting this money back? Was it an instant thing, and he kept kind of batting it away, or when did you start realising?
Well, no, he was arrested when we were still in a relationship, and I saw him being arrested on a Crime Stoppers video, and that's when I found out he was a criminal.
Oh, so you didn't know beforehand that he had stolen that money?
No.
So you
Had no idea.
Trace,
No.
someone sent you that video, is that right? Like you didn't know where he
a
was.
girlfriend of mine.
He's been arrested, and a friend of yours goes, "Hang on, is this your partner,
Yeah.
Max?"
It took me I was out of touch with him for about 24 hours, and I was getting worried. I asked Bondi Police to do a wellness check on him, and while they were off doing that, I was sent the Crime Stoppers video of him being arrested. So that's when I found out he was a criminal, and then soon after I found out that his name was Hamish and not Max, and the rest of my world came tumbling down around me.
Did he have like fake like driver's license and
Yes.
stuff, or did you never see any like
Never
any?
saw a driver's license. Everything, he'd always pay cash at a restaurant. In retrospect, you talk about red flags. They're easy to see in retrospect. I guess what I like to talk about are beige flags because they are beige at best. At the time, you just brush them away and you think, oh, that's no big deal. That's not enough to get worked up about. But he was a master manipulator. So he had manipulated our whole reality to have me believe he was who he said he was. So it wasn't that I missed the red flags. It was that the red flags were disguised as beige flags.
Did you get any of the money back? Can you get any of the money back? How does that work legally?
No, so it was a case, like a criminal case that the detectives and the police and the state took over. So as part of that case, there was no money anywhere to be found in any bank account in Australia. So no one got any money back.
So you're saying he swindled $70 million around the world, but
He's got it somewhere.
Yeah,
So
like
they
he
can't
couldn't have
find
spent it all,
or,
surely.
or they freeze it, or
Offshore account.
you don't know, Trace.
It's hard to know. It was a criminal case that was looked after by the detectives. So the case in Australia was $7.6 million of lost funds and 15 victims, but it was through Greg Berup's investigation with the Australian that they discovered it was more likely to be $70 million globally. There is literally not one corner of the globe this man hasn't stolen money from people.
Wow.
So Trace, so obviously he's been convicted, gone to jail, found guilty. Can you then bring civil charges up and recuperate damages? Have you thought about that? Has anybody approached you about doing that?
Yeah, but I have no money to pay a lawyer. I lost all my money.
Oh,
And
God.
this is the challenge with people who lose money to fraud is quite often it doesn't become a criminal case. I was lucky that it did. But mostly fraud cases are seen as civil disputes, but people don't have money to pay for the legal fees to follow, or even a private investigator. So you're in a bit of a bind. I'm glad that he was sentenced and I've had justice in that way. But chasing the money, and you could be just chasing good, putting good money after bad, really. So at some point you just have to accept that the money's gone and you have to rebuild your life, and that's what I've chosen to do.
Tracy, did he ever show any remorse for his actions, or did he just go, no, did it, don't care?
Well, he chose not to speak as part of the criminal process, and that's his right. He doesn't have to. I did receive some letters and some phone calls from him after he was
Really?
Oh, so
about
you've
6
spoken
months.
to him?
Yeah, for about 6 months after he was arrested. And I was just so desperate for information that I took the calls and, of course, I read the letters. But, yeah, there wasn't a lot of remorse in there.
So how did those phone calls go? When he calls you and goes, hey,
You've never had a phone call from jail?
Yeah.
No, sorry, Trace.
Oh, we
It
did
wasn't
one.
on my vision board growing up either.
Vision board. One day he'll call me from jail.
So he calls
Yeah.
you, Hamish
Well, yeah.
Max calls you and goes, hey.
It's me.
Yeah,
Like-
well, it's like you get this thing and it says you're about to receive a call from Silverwater Correctional Facility.
Yeah.
If you want to take the calls down the line, if you don't hang up, but the call will be recorded.
Okay.
And you get 6 minutes, right? So 6 minutes feels like a long time when you're watching your lunch defrost in the office microwave.
Yeah.
Yep.
But when you're trying to find out information about the last 18 months of your life, it's like it goes so quickly. So I was so desperate for information. I was peppering him with questions. What is your name? Where do you live? Where are you married? What about my money? What about your job? Who is this person? What about that situation? I don't know. He was just really offhandish, like, just a name, T. It's just a name. Don't worry about the name.
Still playing the game.
Wow.
Still, after he'd been convicted, literally calling you from jail,
Like
and
it's no biggie.
and he is still
No
playing that.
biggie.
Wow, the
Yeah.
balls on that guy.
So how long has it been now
a
since you've spoken
psychopath.
to him?
Oh, I stopped taking the calls it was about 6 months after he was arrested.
Wow.
So I realised pretty quickly that I wasn't going to get any truth out of him. I mean, he'd lied for 18 months, so why was he suddenly going to tell me the truth? I think he was trying to get me to go and see him in jail and have a conversation with him.
Yeah.
But I knew I realised that there was no point in doing that. There was nothing to be gained.
So obviously you brought up the money, which would have been the first thing I'd want to bring up. How does he refute that?
Well, because the calls are recorded, he didn't want to discuss that over the phone. So that was why he wanted me to go and see him. But essentially, he was just waving a $317,000 carrot in front of my face, hoping that I'd turn up.
Yeah.
How could I trust anything that he'd said?
Yeah.
And why would I want to be involved with a criminal?
No way.
So I just went nuts. Not into it.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. This is so interesting.
Yeah.
And I guess you're getting a cut of the book, The Last Victim. So, I mean, if people are listening and they want to support you, that's probably the best way to do it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I go around and talk to people now and warn them about these things. I mean, scams and fraud are not slowing down. It's $1 trillion was lost globally to scams and fraud last year.
Wow.
So
Trace.
it is not going away, and people need to be aware of not only these types of characters, but, the ones that we get sent every day on our
Text
phones
messages,
and our emails.
Yeah.
And
Haven't paid
it's
you.
just
Toll.
Yeah,
crazy.
vote for the trumpet party, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Tracy Hall, thank you very much. Thank you for being so raw and honest on this show. As Jim said, The Last Victim by Tracy Hall, it's available now. Trace, thank you very much, and we wish you all the best.